last day of shooting, we picked the most difficult set ever. Smoke, mirrors in every direction. Love it. Welcome to Twilight.
You're listening to Another Bite of Twilight, a podcast where we look back on our obsession with the Twilight saga and continue to freak out 10 years later.
Hi, this is Mel.
And Kel. And you are listening to your favorite and only Twilight podcast.
My mom asked why we laugh so much.
Really? Because we're having a great time.
She was like, I feel like it's not funny what you're laughing at right now.
That's really rude.
Yeah. She's honestly not... She's a hater of the podcast. She's like,
she should just stop listening to it.
Yeah. Well, I guilt her. I'm like, did you listen to this week's episode? She's like, I'm gonna. And then she like...
You should ask your dad instead.
I don't think he would either.
You know what? You don't need your family's support. You know,
I'm
sure we can think of a lot of people who didn't have their family support. I can't think of it right now.
Does your dad listen?
Yeah, my dad does.
So your whole family listens.
I don't think Shannon does.
You don't think so?
Even though she was on the show. No, I really don't think Shannon listens to it.
I feel like she's responded.
Come to think of it. In the beginning, I don't think she does anymore.
Shannon, if you're listening, let us know.
Another problem is sometimes I have to edit out things that make us laugh, but then our laughter carries on into the next thing we say and it doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah. Sometimes
that happens. But I have to cut it out because we either say something really dumb or dumber than usual. Yeah. Or incorrect. Like there's been times when we said things were just wrong and it's like, okay, like that's not his name or like that's not true. Like
are you referring to when I said wait Godfrey's name?
Yeah, maybe. Or like the 2 times I said that wait, what's the director's name again? Chris Weitz. Twice I said he was good looking or cute or something.
Yeah.
And then I was like, that's not really true. Like I said that twice. Like this is getting weird. Like I need to cut one of them out. But I think the laughter like kept going. Anyway, Welcome to Another Bite of Twilight. We are so excited to have you here today, and today we're going to talk about the woman that started it all. Like, no matter what you think of her, we would not be here at all, literally, without Stephenie Meyer.
We would not be alive.
We might not be. No butterfly effect? Who knows? Yeah. She's older than us, so maybe we wouldn't be alive.
Yeah, like you don't know if like she knew someone who knew someone
who affected our parents somehow.
You don't know. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I mean, she's the author of Twilight, if you didn't know. Maybe you didn't.
So, but who is she?
Mel, do you know her middle name?
Oh shit, no. Do you?
No, I'm gonna Google it right now.
I'm
just curious.
I didn't find one.
Wait, she actually might not have one.
I don't.
Isn't her name spelt the way it is because she's named after her father?
Okay, I found a lot of articles that said like her spelling was weird. Yeah, and her father's name is Stephen, and so
I remember reading that way back in the day that it's spelled the way of a man like a Stephen because she's named after her father.
Is Stephenie spelt in a different
Usually
way?
It's spelled Stepha.
Oh, okay.
I-E, not E.
Oh, okay.
N. So it's like Stephenie, almost.
Oh, I feel like my cousin Stephenie spells it this way too.
Really?
On my dad's side of the family.
I think that she actually does not have a middle name.
Or
but
maybe
was
never.
Born Stephenie Morgan. I'm sure you know that.
Yeah, that's actually.
So we're gonna go through her life and kind of just uncover who Stephenie Meyer is and what she's up to today, because ever since Breaking Dawn came out, a lot of us have been wondering like what's next for her, and she's had other books come out, and she's kind of a mysterious woman. She's very private.
She's not like J.K. Rowling.
No.
Who's always on Twitter. And like, she's kind of J.K. Rowling is like a character. And I feel like we know her pretty well, or we feel like we do. Whereas Stephenie, I don't know.
She keeps to herself. I think that she wants to just be like normal and doesn't really want to talk about writing all the time. And she's been pretty active lately doing things. Like she's been producing things.
Yeah, and a lot of YouTubers somehow landed
interviews with her.
Did you
Yeah.
just find that?
Yes, I did find that.
They would be like in forks in a forest and like, hey
Yeah,
guys,
I saw
I'm here
that.
with author Stephenie Meyer.
I saw that.
Yeah.
A bunch of YouTubers talked to her.
How did they get her?
I don't know. But
Do you think we could?
maybe.
I feel like we've dissed Twilight. Like,
No.
well, we've criticized it.
I feel like we're even.
Yeah.
We love Twilight, but like we see both sides.
Yeah.
We're not gonna just like see only one side of things.
But I feel
know?
like we've criticized
I feel
it.
like even Stephenie herself
Yeah.
sees both sides. The fact that she made this like life and death book.
Yeah,
It's like
that's
she's
true.
like, all right, let me try to see a different point of view. I don't know. I hope
true.
Stephenie didn't take any offense to things we've said. I doubt she's listened.
don't
She actually doesn't. I mean, I know
Well,
she.
do you think she's ever on Spotify and says, I'm going to look for a Twilight podcast? I mean, that's how everyone else has found us, right?
No. Probably not. She actually, I know she wrote Life and Death, but she kind of seems done with Twilight to me lately. So I
You don't think she
kinda-
thinks about it every day?
Well, I'll get to that later. But I mean, she has said before that she's done with it
Yeah.
and that she thinks about other things now. So I don't know. I wouldn't be
I
surprised.
bet it crosses her mind once a day.
That if I interviewed her, I would ask her how often she thinks of Twilight.
Yeah.
I'd be like, do you think of it once a day at least?
I bet.
Like
I
an
mean, she'd
ex.
have to. Yeah.
Like just crosses your mind.
Yeah.
She must think about Twilight every day. And on the podcast, we have my cat again walking by.
He's close.
He's harmless.
Okay, so do you want to just get into it?
Yeah. So
Right.
Mel she's done the research about Stephenie's early life, and she's going to teach me what she knows. And then I'm going to pick up after Twilight and kind of fill in the blanks of what Stephenie's up to now.
Okay. Do you have notes with you?
They're on the computer.
Oh, okay.
I just have them memorized. That would be crazy. Imagine. I have a script memorized.
You're just going to wing it. Okay, so she was born Stephenie Morgan on Christmas Eve in
Wow.
1973. Yeah, I thought it was interesting.
I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. In Hartford, Connecticut.
Wow.
Which I didn't know.
That's pretty close to us.
Yeah, it's
I
not
think
far.
I've been through there. I've driven through there.
I wonder what her family was doing there because I feel like, you know, they're a very Mormon family and there's not a big Mormon population.
I don't know.
And then it seems like
Was her childhood Mormon, or did she go into that later?
her childhood was.
Oh, okay.
So, she was the second child of 6 children. And yeah, she was named after her dad, who was an auditor. Actually, I'm just kidding. He was an accountant.
Okay.
Her husband was an auditor later on. Her family moved to Phoenix when she was 4, and it's actually at that age, 4, she met her now husband.
What?
At a church event.
No way. That's crazy.
Yeah, Poncho.
Poncho.
That's his nickname, but
His real name's Christian, right?
Christian, yeah. Yeah.
That will come up later.
Oh. And she's described her childhood as very normal and sheltered, pretty much boring, I guess. Her dad would read fantasy adult novels because he just like never cared about, like, to her, because he never wanted to read children's books. So
he read adult fantasy novels to her.
To her growing up.
I wonder what those books were. Because I read that she hasn't watched Game of Thrones.
Oh, really?
And I'm like, did she read them? What else is an adult fantasy novel? Lord of the Rings, maybe?
She reads that much, to be honest.
She does.
I don't know.
She does.
So she went to...
Wait a second. She studied literature.
She did. That's
Yeah.
true. But so did I.
Okay, well, you know what? I started writing literature, and I actually did my reading homework, unlike you. So we're not all students
I
like
did it
you,
for the
Mel.
No, I did it for the most part, but sometimes it was a task. So she went to Chaparral High School in Scottsdale, Arizona. And I think she said in interviews that she felt very out of place because a lot of her peers were very privileged. More privileged than her. Like, they had Porsches and stuff like that, I guess. And her dad was an accountant, so they probably had a good amount of money, but she was one of 6 children, so...
Did her mom work?
No, I think her mom was just a housewife.
And, like, I feel like accountants, like, make fine money, but I don't know
but
about...
for 6 kids.
And the only working parent.
Yeah.
I wonder if that influenced, like, you know how Bella has that kind of cool vintage but crappy truck, and, like, everyone else kind of laughs at it?
Yeah, I think that's why that's relevant, is she relates to Bella, and that she kind of feels like she can't relate to, like... the means of everyone else.
And we're supposed to be like, oh my god, that the Collins have nice cars.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, rich kids reading it might be like, oh yeah, I have a...
Yeah. Porsche. Or a Jeep.
Volvo.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for us, it's like a big deal.
Yeah.
Apparently, she was really smart in high school, and she earned high honors, and she earned a National Merit Scholarship and would read the classics like Jane Austen, Charlotte Bronte, Margaret Mitchell.
I don't even know who Margaret Mitchell is, to be honest.
I just read it off. But apparently, one of her English teachers was on the record. I don't know if this is true because I found it in a Daily Mail article, which, is that reliable?
Actually, oddly enough, had an internship a few years ago where I read Daily Mail like every day for it. Hard to explain why, but I don't know. Daily Mail usually backs stuff up with pictures and things, but like I'd say they're more reliable than some, but they stretch the truth.
Yeah.
Like, they'll jump to conclusions because of things. So, yeah. I don't know.
Well, apparently they were able to interview a former English teacher of her who said that she was an unremarkable student.
Honestly, someone would say that of me.
Oh, literally, I resonated with this so much. Like, oh, she was into books, but
yes,
I don't remember her.
If I ever reach any success, like, that's what my teachers wouldn't remember me, actually. I feel like I was very quiet.
100%. So. Although, one of my teachers who went on maternity leave, it was like my sophomore year teacher. She added me on LinkedIn.
Whoa.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Like, one of my teachers friended me on Facebook.
Really? Mm-hmm. I'm actually friends with some of my teachers on Facebook. Actually, my middle school gym teacher followed me on Twitter.
Oh my god.
He wasn't even my gym teacher. He was like the other
Mr. Kitchen?
No. Mr. Kitchen. That was my elementary school gym teacher. Mr. Kitchen.
Could never forget a name like that.
Yeah, he was our elementary school gym teacher, and he moved away when we were in 2nd grade. And then in 5th grade, we had a raffle, and the prize was you get to go to a pool party with Mr. Kitchen. And Mr. Kitchen, we're all graduating 5th grade. He just shows up to this pool party with like a ton of 25 5th grade girls.
What?
And
the hell?
He just comes to a pool party with us. Looking back, isn't that so weird?
It's very weird. How old was he?
Probably in his 20s or 30s.
I guess kids just love their teachers sometimes.
Yeah, especially when
hard to understand.
When they have a fun name like that.
Yeah, Mr. Kitchen.
Everyone he moved away, but for years people are like, remember Mr. Kitchen? Yeah. Keith Kitchen.
Love ya. Anyway, back to Stephenie Meyer.
So back to her. Yeah. So her teacher said, I have a quote here. Can I read it?
Yeah.
It said, she was bright, but not overly so. Her writing was good, but not outstanding. I remember her being very polite and fairly shy. Stephenie was in my daughter's year, but when she became famous, both of us had to look her picture up to remember her clearly. She just blended in.
Honestly, I feel like that's what people would say
That's
about
what people
me.
would say about me as well. So she described herself as being a big reader, but the only thing that she never read was horror. So she never read anything with monsters in it.
I read that too.
She went to Brigham Young University, which is a Mormon university in Provo, Utah. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. There she studied English literature. And somewhere in that time, she reacquainted with Pancho.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and they married, I think a year after that they started dating and then married a year later during her senior year of college.
Okay, so she was still in college.
Yeah, or it was at least like the same year that she graduated. But she actually had her first child the year that she graduated college.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so she started early having kids. I have a feeling that Pancho was the only person she ever dated.
Like Bella and Edward.
Yeah, but it's kind of weird because she's also said weird stuff. Like, she kind of describes Twilight as being so different from her life and that she never dated anyone like Edward. Like, she's been on the record and said that she always kind of dated like the Mike Newtons and the Eric Yorks.
I also remember her saying that when Bella goes to high school and everyone thinks she's like really attractive, she said that that was her experience kind of going from high school to college, that like in high school people didn't really acknowledge her, but then in college she kind of implied that in college people thought she was like good looking.
Yeah.
And that made me think that she like, I don't know, flirted around with some guys.
With some guys in college.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. I can see that. I kind of
Which is normal.
I feel like I should not go on the record saying this, but I kind of feel the same way as when I was in high school. I feel like no one noticed me. Mm-hmm. And then anytime anyone ever noticed me in college, it was like, oh my God.
Yeah, and I feel like you also get more confident in a way because you're like, okay, I know how to meet new people. I'm doing it. Like, I have new friends.
Yeah.
I'm awesome.
When you're in high school, middle school, I feel like people see you as
who you were since kindergarten.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to break out of that mold.
Like, I always felt like I knew I was shy in elementary school, and it was hard to shake that off.
Yeah.
Even in high school when I didn't really have a reason to be that shy anymore. Not that you ever really have a reason, but like, it was hard to change.
Exactly.
It was hard to open myself up to the people I went to school with.
100%. So,
yeah.
To any of our young listeners, college is great.
Yeah, or whatever you do after high school.
Yeah. Not to assume. But so she said, I think for me, Twilight was dangerous. It was a new ground. I was nowhere near as mature as Bella at her age, and I would have never dated an Edward. And
I would have.
She says that like her childhood was very safe. It was practical.
Oh, okay.
And she said I was very practical and I chose a nice boy, my husband.
Does she regret that slightly?
It sounds like she does. Like, kind of sounds like Bella was her way to live vicariously and have like an exciting romance.
I know, because she knew Pancho since she was like 4.
When she was 4, yeah. I wonder how he feels about her saying that stuff. Like,
maybe she was like, babe, I didn't mean it.
Well, she's saying like she played it safe. I mean, we don't know what they discuss, but
like nobody wants
I bet that could have been a fight.
No one wants to hear that like they are the definition of playing it safe.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, but she also kind of attributes her sort of more modest upbringing to what made her refrain from having so much sex like in the books, like so she says that she thinks that kind of contributed to the success of Twilight because everything is a big deal. Like the first time they hold hands, it's like a big deal and you're like, oh my God. And that's how it is in real life. The first time you hold someone's hand,
it's crazy.
Yeah, and she says if you just go right to sex, then you miss out on all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And so I feel like we've discussed it before where in Twilight you have a lot of those little moments where she's just thinking about Edward or
even he'll touch her arm or something.
Yeah, and
you're like whoa, okay, he just touched her arm.
Yeah. Whereas I feel like if it was so much so soon, then you would lose like all of that tension.
That's
and
true.
Excitement.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
And I do think that you can make fun of the fact that Twilight is so like pure and wholesome and stuff, but like there a lot of things at that time for teens were not really that way. I mean, like Gossip Girl, I love it, but like it was very sexual and like they did drugs and stuff. And like the show Skins, I also loved it, but same thing, sex, drugs, and like even the OC. Yeah, I mean, maybe people could say Twilight's lame for being so, like, pure, but, like, maybe it was interesting in a way, because back then, and even still now, I think a lot of teen things, it's like, yeah, like, let's show teens, like, being rebellious and stuff.
Exactly.
So
I think it's also realistic, too. Like, I think that teenagers have sex less often than people think.
Yeah. And especially nowadays, actually.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They do less than teens did in, like, the 70s
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, even, like, in Degrassi, I remember, if any of you guys watched Degrassi, there was one character who, like, never had sex.
I know.
Because she was Christian. And then
unrealistic.
And then she...
Even Liberty.
Yeah. But then she ended up losing her virginity anyway.
I know. Then there's nobody left.
Then
I was like, wow.
None of them, and like...
Are you really telling me no one at Degrassi is a virgin?
Yeah, and I feel like that can kind of make kids feel bad.
Yeah. Even movies like Juno and stuff, like, make fun of the fact that Polly Bleeker was, like, a virgin and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, that's how most kids are.
I kind of think of it like, I mean, like, if it happens, it happens. But, like, your childhood is so short.
It's so short. And, like, I'm 24. Oh, my God. I can't even believe that. Now, and I miss it, kind of. And, like, it freaks me out that childhood's over. And I seriously don't bother rushing to be an adult. Like, if you're a young listener, like, you'll get there. Yeah. And then you're there for the rest of your life.
Exactly. Yeah, you are. There's no turning back, unfortunately.
Yeah. So, like, once you're an adult, it's, like, not that being an adult sucks or anything, but it's just, you can't get back. Yeah. It's like Peter Pan.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Okay, so one reviewer described Stephenie as the mistress of the erotics of abstinence. Mm. I mean, Twilight did, like... It did still have, like, sexual, like, tension.
Yeah.
And, like, it obviously inspired a lot of, like, fan fiction.
Yeah, it's, like, that void or, like, that absence of it in your mind creates it.
Yeah. So. Which I think it's more... I tried to read 50 Shades of Grey, and I couldn't... It was so boring to me.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of our listeners have read it, but it was like, oh, here we are, they're having sex. Oh, they're having sex again. They're having sex again. Yeah. And, like, I can see how it could turn people on, but I was just like, I don't care about the characters. I don't care about the story. Yeah. It just felt like porn to me or something.
I feel that.
Did you read all of them?
Yeah, I don't know why I did. I remember, like, that summer, everyone I worked at this ice cream place, everyone was reading it.
That's so funny.
Like, my friends were and
my
stuff,
mom read
and, like,
them all.
I kind of just, like, got caught up in it, but, like, the whole time I thought it was, like, dumb, but for some reason I wanted to know what happened next. Yeah. But nothing really happened.
No, that's the thing. Yeah. It's like, they have sex again, they have sex again. It's like, he ties her up, he smacks her.
I don't know why I read them all.
Yeah. It would be interesting to read a scene like that between Bella and Edward.
I know. It would be.
Anyways, she had her first child, the same year that she graduated, and then she had 2 after that. Mm-hmm. Her kids are named Gabe, Seth, and Eli. Which is kind of weird that she had a character named Seth. Yeah. Named after her son. Probably. I like that name. I like it too, but it's like, why name only one?
I know.
Weird. One character after your kid, you know? Yeah, so her husband was an auditor, and she was a housewife, and they lived in a small town, Cave Creek, Arizona, with a population of 4,900 people.
Wow, I'll have to check that out on Google Maps later.
I think that's where they still live.
I love looking at random towns on Google Maps. I, like, explore it in the Street View thing.
Just, like, poking through. Yeah.
I've never been to Arizona or Utah. Yeah. I would like to go someday, though.
So, yeah, she apparently had no aspirations to be anything other than a housewife. Mm-hmm. She was just a mom, 3 young kids. And then it all changed when she had a dream on June 2nd, 2003.
Yeah, she knows the exact date.
Yeah, and she described it as it was just a teenage girl in a meadow with a beautiful teenage boy. They were standing across from each other, and she knew that the guy was a vampire and that he was torn between loving her and wanting to kill her at the same time. And it was a very visceral dream, and she woke up from it, and she just didn't want to forget about it.
Mm-hmm. I've actually had dreams like that.
Me
before.
too, but I forget about them.
I remembered some of them, but I guess they just weren't, I don't know. I didn't do anything with them like she did.
And like what could have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really interesting when I have a dream where I'm not in it.
Yeah.
It's like
it's so weird.
When it's just like characters, that's when it feels like, oh, that's something. And then I just like forget about it.
Actually, I was listening to some interviews with her and watching them, and she was talking about, this kind of overlaps with like your research, and she was talking about being a stay-at-home mom, and she said something about like she hit like a rut or something and didn't feel like Stephenie anymore.
Yeah.
She didn't feel like herself anymore.
She said on...
And then she like had the dream and started writing.
Yeah, she said on...
Which made me feel kind of sad.
Yeah. On Oprah, she said that it was a way to come back into herself. Because she had 3 young kids and like she was just kind of taking care of them. And so she wrote it down because she knew that like...
She said her kids were like really bad kids.
Oh, really?
Or, like, not bad, but they were really difficult babies. Like, they had illnesses and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I get that feeling of, like, I don't know who I am anymore.
Yeah.
And, like, that makes me feel a little sad for her. And,
that
like,
scares me about having kids. Is I feel like a lot of times women, and maybe guys too, like, they just kind of, like, lose themselves and they become parents.
Yeah.
And then you're just, like, someone's mom.
Do you feel like... I sometimes feel like people are unfair to Stephenie Meyer because she's a stay-at-home mom. Like, people focus on that a lot. They're like, well, she has kids. Like, so what does that mean?
Yeah.
And, like, I don't know.
I could see it. I feel like sometimes people are unfair to her because she's a Mormon as well.
Yeah, it's like, why does it have to come up in every single discussion about Twilight? It's like, the Mormon author. I'm like, do we really need to bring that up every time?
I think it could go hand in hand with people's criticism of Bella as being kind of people who think she's dependent and not really her own woman. And then they think like, oh, well, she was just a housewife. You know what I mean? Like, she didn't have any aspirations outside of her marriage or something.
It's like, why is it okay to have aspirations to be an auditor? Like, is that groundbreaking? Is that like changing the world?
And actually,
or like being a banker? Or,
after Twilight became big, her husband actually quit his job and he became a stay-at-home dad.
Which, like,
so then
that's honorable.
Yeah, so then they were both stay-at-home parents. Which is the dream, really.
Yeah. Like, it's actually a lot of hard work to, like, raise new human beings.
Exactly.
To, like, become good citizens of the world. And being a stay-at-home mom is not as easy as people think it is. And I think it's, like, so unfair when people, like, act like, just a stay-at-home mom. Like, I don't know.
I agree. I mean, because otherwise then you have other people taking care of your kids and, like, you're paying them to do it. So it's a job no matter who's doing it. You know what I mean? Like, if you're taking care of them or...
Yeah, why is it better to be, like, a preschool teacher or a nanny? Or why is it like, oh, okay, your job's a nanny?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, why is that acceptable but not being a stay-at-home mom?
Someone has to take care of them. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So
it's like, oh, she's a daycare teacher. Like, that's cool.
Yeah.
Stay-at-home mom? No.
Yeah. But I can also see the fear of losing yourself and just being a mom.
But I also think, like, Stephenie could be an inspiration to people who maybe are afraid of that or maybe feel that themselves. Is like, find something that you love to do or that you want to do or that you're interested in, and, like, you can still do it even if you're a mom. Like, I feel like she could be an inspiration to people that, like, she still made something of herself.
Yeah. So when she was writing Twilight, she did not think of it as a book at all. She just was, like, writing
It's really weird to me because there's, like, chapters. Yeah. I don't get that. It's like, I didn't think it was a book.
Some of this I don't know how much I believe.
I know. Like, okay, you didn't think it was a book, then what was it?
Well, she says that she wrote it down and then she was just expanding it. I think, like, maybe it was, like, she just was, like, enjoying seeing where the characters go and she was writing it for herself.
Would she say it was a story, if not a book? Or, like, a short story? I don't get what she means by...
she didn't see it as a book that she was going to do anything with.
Okay.
I think she saw it as
what you
like,
mean.
it was just for herself.
I guess I didn't get what she meant by that. Like, it was just journal entry. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know.
I was thinking, though, that this idea of writing something solely just for yourself, it's such a productive way to write. Like, in the past when I've written things, like, granted they, like, weren't that great, but, like, if I just wrote something thinking, like, oh, this is just for me, like, for instance, like, I tried to write about college, and, like, I would write pages and pages and pages, but if you write something thinking that people are going to read it, you get so caught up in, like, what people will think that, like,
And then you get scared, and then you keep changing it.
and then your writer's block is just, like...
And actually, I have something in that I found that she talked about that. Someone asked her, like, who do you write for? Or, like, what kind of audience do you have in mind? And she said, me.
Yeah.
I don't write for anyone but me. And people might think that sounds, like, self-centered or something, but, like, my fave singer ever, Lana Del Rey, has said the same thing, that she just writes music for her. And, like, I think that that's the only way to be totally creatively authentic. Is, like,
I agree.
You can't think about who your audience is going to be.
I agree, 100%.
Because then, like, you'll never really be real.
Yeah, and then you'll just be so paralyzed by
like
what people will think.
She might have never published Twilight if she was, like, worried about what people thought.
I kind of think that that's what her problem is now, because
that she worries what people think.
Yeah. Especially with, like, Midnight Sun, like, she knows that...
Yeah, she's so worried about, like... Well, I was going to mention this, but the reason why she hasn't released it recently is because the author of 50 Shades of Grey came out with, like, her own version of 50 Shades in the male's perspective called Grey, and, like, Stephenie halted her work on that because of that, and it's like, we don't care, Stephenie. Like, just publish it. Like...
It's like the success of Twilight kind of added way too much pressure about what she publishes after.
Yeah. And I also feel like Life and Death was, like, a reaction to what people think of Twilight.
Yeah, 100%. Where it's like Twilight, I think what made it so successful is she just wrote it and she wasn't, you know, trying to please an audience of any sorts. I mean... Breaking Dawn, I feel like she should have tried to more.
But, you know what? Whatever. It's her. I kind of respect that.
Yeah.
It's like her crazy fantasy.
Yeah. And she obviously had never published anything before. She did English. She was a literature major, but I don't know how much writing she did for that. So she said that she didn't do any research on vampires because she wanted to create her own story and not be limited by anybody else's vampires or worlds. And she wanted to, the only research she did is what Bella would have found in her research.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, vampires aren't real, so, like, I don't really know what the point is.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, researching it too much.
And she only showed the book to her older sister, who convinced her to send it to literary agents. And it's kind of cute. She actually had to Google how to do that and, like, how to write a query letter. She never learned that. And she sent 15 letters out and got 9 rejections and 5 no answers and 1 positive response from Jody Reamer at Writer's House, which was the #1 literary agent that she wanted. So
wow.
It worked out for her. And Jody Reamer, she apparently read it on a plane, the first couple chapters, and she said or the query letter, and then she read the first couple chapters on a plane, and she was hooked. And so then she signed her.
I feel like 15 rejections, or 14 rejections, I guess you could say, is not even that bad.
No, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. I feel like things just, like, worked out. Like, it just seems so lucky. Like,
they did.
So she had that dream June 2nd, 2003. November 2003. That is 5 months later. She signed a $750,000 deal with Little Brown.
That's insane.
To write, I think, 3 books. So I think that money was for 3 books. But that's crazy.
What the heck? 5 months later?
5 months later, after having the dream. So it took her 3 months to write, and then she had, and, like, literally.
Some people spend, like, decade writing a book.
Some people spend their whole lives trying to write a book. And
Oh my God.
And she just, like, on a whim woke up, wrote it down,
Was it
sent
God's
it
gift
out.
to her?
It was God's gift to us, honestly. Yeah, isn't that crazy? And then within a month after its release, it was number 5 on the New York Times bestseller list.
Yeah, and just crazier and crazier, like, numbers happened after that,
Yeah,
too.
and then it became one of the best-selling books of all time. I mean, that's just, like, she had this dream, wrote it down, didn't think of anything of it, sent only 15 letters out, got 1 response back, signed her. Like, a month later, she got signed for a book deal.
Oh my God.
And then a month later, it was a New York Times bestseller. So, like, literally, I think... when did Twilight publish?
2005.
2005. Okay.
That's so soon, though, after. Like, some people, their book gets, like, taken by an agent, and then it takes that long, like, years to get then a publisher, and then from there, maybe it takes even longer, and, like, that's really quick.
Yeah. I do think some of it is, like, how good was the marketing team at Little Brown that, like, they were able to get that? Because books publish all the time, and vampire books, like, there was probably a good amount of, like, young adult vampire books at the time, and, like, what about Twilight, other than it was a unique story, like, why did it become such a hit?
Maybe we should look into that.
Yeah.
How did they market it when it first came out?
Yeah. I remember hearing about it.
I just heard about it from word of mouth, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. But I didn't hear about it until 2007. 2008.
I didn't hear about it until 2008, I think.
The book movie was being made.
Mm-hmm.
So who was reading it in 2005?
Cooler people than us.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, I was in 5th grade, so, like, give me a break.
Yeah, I was in 4th grade.
I probably could have read it, though. Like, I had already read, like, the thickest Harry Potters by then, so... But at the same time, I don't really know if I was super ready for romance like that. I don't know.
Yeah. I think, I was in 3rd grade and 4th grade.
That's pretty young.
Yeah. I didn't even read back then.
What was this bullet point? What dreams?
I said the only other dream she had about Twilight was during, she could have had more recently. That would be interesting. But was during when she was writing New Moon, Edward showed up and told her that she got it wrong and that he can't just feed off of animals.
Oh my gosh. That's the only dream she had. I've had so many dreams about Twilight.
Me too. I had one like this week.
I had a lot. I remember one about Edward with like a trash bag around his shoulder and he was standing on a picnic table. I don't remember why. I don't know. I know. All right, so that was Stephenie up until Twilight's release, right? Okay, so I want to ask what you think about, before I get into this, what do you think about Stephenie Meyer? Like, her personality. Like, what do you think of her?
I have sometimes been judgmental of her myself. Just thinking, I mean, not liking some of the choices that she made with, like, Renesmee and Jacob and not releasing Midnight Sun and thinking that, I don't know, I feel like I've thought that she was kind of uptight.
Yeah. Has this research, like, changed your opinion at all?
Kind of. She's pretty likable in interviews. And, like, I think she's just a private person. And honestly, like, just the whole story of how she became a writer is, like, everything just kind of worked out and she was lucky. And she never saw herself as entering into, like, being a famous person.
Yeah.
So, like, she just kind of ended up here and... you know, it's just navigating it and trying to live a private life. And so I don't think that we really know her despite this research, but...
Of course not.
Yeah.
I feel similarly. I think before... I never really watched interviews with her back in the day. I don't know why. And by back in the day, I mean, like, when the Twilight movies were coming out and stuff. And I also was very angry about Midnight Sun. And I thought that she was, like... stubborn for not releasing it, and that's kind of like the only place I got my feelings from was the Midnight Sun thing. But then I've been watching a bunch of interviews with her, and I feel like she's a very kind person. I feel like she's understanding.
Yeah.
I feel like she gets why some people are upset with her decisions. I feel like she understands the criticism.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that when people ask her questions that are kind of tricky or a little presumptuous or, you know, negative, she doesn't react badly.
Yeah.
She is very composed and is, like, friendly about it.
I saw a clip of her at a Comic-Con, and, like, she was kind of rude to a person who asked about Midnight Sun, and she was like, this question is for Stephenie, and I guess maybe Rob, like, do you think that there will ever be any media released about Edward's point of view? And Stephenie was like, I don't know, Rob, do you think you're gonna write a book? Like, do you think that you would write? Like, she was just kind of, like, insulted that this person included Rob.
Yeah, that's actually kind of weird, though. Why would Rob be included?
Yeah, well, maybe, like, if he would portray Edward in, like, a Midnight
That was
Sun.
recently?
It was during a Comic-Con
Weird.
for, like, a Breaking Dawn, I think. But she was, you know, this poor fan just, like, was brave enough to ask a question, and she was... I guess it was supposed to be joking, but it was kind of awkward.
Yeah. Like, I've seen people ask her questions that I can tell are, like, bait, kind of. They're like, do you think Bella's a good role model? Like, I can tell that the person's like, because I don't.
Yeah.
And I think that Stephenie handles it well.
Yeah.
She's not, like, insanely defensive or anything. Or angry. I don't know. And then, like, we were talking about J.K. Rowling, and I hate to compare them, but, like, the comparisons always come up. I do kind of admire that she isn't, like, talking about it all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's true.
It's, like, a little annoying.
I don't know anything about Susan Collins. I don't even know what she looks like.
She has very frizzy hair.
Oh, she does?
Yeah.
Is she young?
No.
Oh.
I don't know. We can look into it. Well, so speaking of J.K. Rowling, I wrote down that in 2009, USA Today revealed that Stephenie broke J.K. Rowling's record on their bestseller list.
Which
and,
upset you at the time.
Yeah, but, like, I actually remember when that happened. I remember being at Borders, which, rest in peace, Borders, and seeing, they used to do this thing where they would have, like, the top 20 books all in order, and I remember Eclipse beat Harry Potter. Like, Eclipse was at number 1.
Oh, wow.
And Harry Potter was after it, and I was like, I mean, that's a little unfair because Eclipse came out after, so, like, of course that's gonna happen, but I remember being, like, shocked by it. And that the 4 Twilight books had spent 52 straight weeks in the top 10. So, speaking of Midnight Sun, I guess Stephenie, she had 12 chapters written, and you guys can read it online if you haven't read it yet. And I guess her mom, like, really wants Midnight Sun to be a thing, and, like, kept asking her. And I guess Stephenie wrote more of it for her mom, and her mom has read that, but, like, we haven't seen it.
That's so... Wait, so she already wrote 12
She's
chapters.
written more. Since, like, in how we've read some of it
Did we read
online.
12 chapters?
I think so.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Seems like she's almost done.
I know, right? It's like, you can't do a little
Why
bit
can't you do that for your mom and not us?
I know.
That's
I know.
crazy.
It's frustrating. And this is all, a lot of this at first is just from Wikipedia, so I'm sorry. Like, you could find this too, but I thought this was just really weird. Well, she said that, like, some of her influences of the Twilight Saga include the X-Men cartoon, HGTV, Iron Man, Somewhere in Time, Stranger Than Fiction, and Baby Mama. What? Like, how does HGTV influence Twilight?
Yeah.
Or Iron Man? I guess maybe, like, her inspiration for the Cullens or, like, the different vampire powers.
Oh, maybe they're home?
Maybe. Yeah, you're right. Maybe. I don't know. Or, like, maybe just she gets character ideas from all the people she sees on HGTV.
Yeah,
but I don't
maybe.
know. And
I feel like that's something
for
she
anyone
should have
that doesn't
elaborated
know,
on.
I don't know. It's, like, just an American channel, maybe Home and Garden TV. It's, like, a lot of shows about... It's like house hunters. People go shopping for houses.
Yeah, and, like, fixer-up homes. And, like, shows about hoarders.
Yeah, and families. And I don't know. Very weird. And as we've mentioned before, her writing's really influenced by music. She's super into music, and she's written playlists for each book that she's written. And bands that she often includes are Muse, Blue October, My Chemical Romance, Coldplay, and Linkin Park.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
That she's into, like, My Chemical Romance.
I know. I can't picture that.
She's, like kind of emo.
I know. emo stay-at-home mom.
Yeah, emo Mormon stay-at-home mom.
I know. And speaking of Mormon, she's acknowledged that her faith influences her work, and I mean, her books aren't like overtly Christian or Mormon or anything, but she said that her characters tend, this is in quotes, tend to think more about where they came from and where they're going than might be typical. And she does not consciously intend her novels to be influenced by her beliefs or anything, but admits that her writing is shaped by her values. So, I
mean, that makes sense.
It's not really on purpose.
Yeah.
I mean, I think everyone. So, I know that today Stephenie gets a lot of criticism, but like when Twilight first came out, people were like really all over this. And like USA Today named her Author of the Year. She was one of MSN's most influential women of 2008. She was ranked number 49 on Time Magazine's list of 100 most influential people in 2008. Was included in their list of people who mattered.
Wow.
With Lev Grossman noting, maybe Americans aren't ready for a Mormon presidential nominee yet, but they're more than ready to anoint a Mormon as the best-selling novelist of the year. Which, again, like, why is it always about her being Mormon? It's kind of unfair. But,
yeah.
She was...
But you know what, that's interesting, because I know that Mitt Romney, the presidential candidate in 2012, he was Mormon.
Yeah.
But that kind of seemed like it was like, oh yeah, he's Mormon.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
like, for a woman, it's a bigger deal.
She was just an author of a YA book series.
Yeah,
why was it such a big deal?
Yeah.
And she was the second best-selling author of the decade, of course, after J.K. Rowling. So she's number 2. In case anyone was wondering if there's like, was it the Hunger Games? No, it was Twilight.
Girl power.
Yeah. And Stephenie Meyer Day is an official holiday in Forks, Washington on September 13th, the date of Bella Swan's birthday.
Oh.
I don't know why it's Bella's birthday, not Stephenie's, but I guess it's Christmas Eve, so
Christmas Eve, yeah.
Confusing.
Yeah.
And she was also ranked number 5 on Forbes' list of Hollywood's top earning women, the only author on the list.
What's her net worth? Do you know?
I don't know. Should I Google it right now?
Yeah.
Sure. Stephenie Meyer net worth. This is just the top thing. It says $125 million.
It's a lot. Do you think you can run out of that money?
I'm sure you could if you had like a ton of different properties and like people working there.
But it seems like I think she still lives in that small town in
Yeah.
Arizona.
Yeah. She doesn't seem to be living like an extravagant life or anything. Of course, there was some criticism of her, and do you remember when this happened? Like Stephen King kind of...
Yeah, he said she was
shit on her. He said, the real difference is that Jo Rowling is a terrific writer, and Stephenie Meyer can't write a darn. She's not very good. And then he went on to say, people are attracted by the stories, by the pace, and in the case of Stephenie Meyer, it's very clear that she's writing to a whole generation of girls and opening up kind of a safe joining of love and sex in those books. It's exciting and thrilling, and it's not particularly threatening because it's not overtly sexual. A lot of the physical side of it is conveyed in things like the vampire will touch her forearm or run a hand over her skin, and she just flushes all hot and cold. And for girls, that's a shorthand for all the feelings that they're just not ready to deal with yet.
Why is that bad?
I don't know.
Like, that's like his...
What does his opinion even matter?
It's kind of like sexist what he's saying. It's
I
like,
know.
oh, it's just for teenage girls, and like that's a big deal for them is when someone touches them.
I know.
It's like, yeah, why does his opinion?
Who knows? Because he's like a best-selling author. So, you know, we know that she wrote Twilight, but then she also wrote The Host, which was a top-selling book. I remember that did really well, and that was an adult book, right? Not YA. And then, actually, recently she came out with another book called The Chemist.
I did not know this.
Neither. You didn't know this?
No, did you?
Yeah, I did, actually. This is an adult book, and it's more of like a action type of story. It's not supernatural or anything.
I thought she didn't write anything since The Host, so that's interesting.
Yeah, no, but neither of us have read it, so
yeah.
No,
I've read The Host, though.
Apparently it's in third person, I think.
Oh,
Which is
interesting.
She usually does first person.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
It's interesting that she had no plans to be an author, and then
Yeah,
she just
now
kind of
she's written a lot.
became one.
Yeah. So then after the books, you know, she spent a lot of 2011 she produced both parts of Breaking Dawn. Our least favorite. But I
feel
mean,
like I kind
no
of-
offense to people that loved Breaking Dawn.
Yeah, people really do love it.
Yeah. And then she also produced the film adaptation of the novel Austenland, which is by Shannon Hale, who's her friend.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I haven't seen Austenland, but like I kind of
Wait, she
wanted
was
to
a
actually.
producer of the film?
Mhm.
Oh, interesting.
Which Stephenie's super into Jane Austen, and the movie's about women that are like obsessed with Jane Austen.
Yeah.
So it was totally up her alley. She also produced The Host, or at least was like a co-producer. I don't remember if she was the only one. And then she's worked on some other things too. Film adaptation of something called Down a Dark Hall. I don't know. And then I don't know what that is.
I don't know.
Okay, this is just kind of random, but in an interview with Time magazine, she said that she never writes messages in her books. Because someone asked, like, oh, what's the message of your books? Or, like, what are you trying to say about mortality and stuff? And she was like, I don't write messages. I just write stories.
That's interesting.
And then I guess a bunch of fans wanted a different ending to Breaking Dawn and were, like, protesting it.
What do you mean different ending?
They weren't happy with how Breaking Dawn ended. I'm not sure, like, what part. I don't know if it was just, like, that...
There not being a fight.
Maybe, or, like, the Renesmee thing.
Yeah.
And I guess there was, like, a protest online, and the interviewer from Time said, what do you think of that? Like, what do you think of fans that want a different ending? And I thought was, like, really nice about it. She was like, I think they're all, like, fantastically passionate people and very creative, and if they have an idea, they should write it. And that was her response to that.
Oh.
And
so it's, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
With what you're saying, I think that she would like our podcast.
Yeah,
I don't think
maybe.
that she would be dissed by things that we've said.
I hope not. Like, we love it.
Yeah.
Speaking of letting fans run off with their creativity, 50 Shades of Grey. You know, it was inspired by Twilight. And on this in this interview with Time, another one, this was a later interview with Time, it was called 10 Questions for Stephenie Meyer. The interviewer asked, how does it make you feel that E.L. James, the author of 50 Shades of Grey, took something that you created and used it for inspiration for something that's pretty raunchy and that made her a lot of money? And Stephenie said, well, I mean, for one thing, it doesn't feel that connected to me. I haven't read it, so I don't know. I'm glad that she is doing well and succeeding, and that's cool. The raunchy part, I wish that wasn't attached to Twilight, just because I don't like to think of it that way, but Twilight's its own thing, and that's fine. And the interviewer said, is it weird that the protagonist, Christian, shares your husband's first name?
Oh.
And she said, I hadn't even thought about that. I guess now that you point that out, it's kind of weird. That is really weird.
That's weird that the
Did
interviewer
E.L.
noticed
James,
that.
Yeah, it's weird that the interviewer noticed that, and then also did E.L. James do that on purpose? Like,
I don't know. I feel like because
it's weird.
like why would she do that on purpose as a way to troll her?
Or I don't know. I'm guessing she was a big Twilight fan, so maybe she
Yeah.
just like knew
But
that. I don't know.
Stephenie's husband goes by Poncho.
True. Maybe it's a coincidence.
Yeah.
It's just weird.
Yeah, that is
No,
weird.
regardless, it's like some kind of connection to Christianity, Mormon. Like I don't know. It's something.
Yeah.
Or
well, why
it's
did
trying to
she
say
choose
something
it?
about like Twilight was pure. I made it raunchy. Like
Yeah.
The name choice
It's
is
interesting.
interesting. Yeah.
What's the girl's name in 50 Shades?
Anastasia?
Oh, interesting. as
Anna
well.
for short.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know why. Maybe just because of the cartoon movie.
Yeah.
Inspired by that. I also learned, speaking of YouTubers that somehow interviewed Stephenie Meyer, there was this girl, I don't know if you saw her. Her name's Christine Riccio. Her username, though, is Poland Bananas Books. I don't know. She's, like, blonde and, like, super enthusiastic. Interviewed her and asked her about the book covers, and apparently the cover of Life and Death, the hand with the green apple, that was like deliberate and on purpose. And I guess Stephenie did have some input on the Twilight covers.
Wait, what do you mean it was deliberate that it was going to be a
green
apple?
Yeah, that it was a green apple, and like the way it looked, like the hand and everything, like she was on board with it, and like they chose it. It wasn't just like random.
Yeah.
And I guess Stephenie did have some input with the covers, which I think is like not that normal. Like usually authors don't.
Yeah.
And she said that the original cover for Twilight was like vinyl with a black zipper or something, and was like unzipping and it said Twilight, and she said it was really creepy, and like that's weird. I don't know why it would be like that. And then she said they found a stock image of a woman holding an apple.
Wow, this is a stock image?
Yeah.
Wow.
A stock image.
Oh my god.
And I think they just edited it, and
imagine being the stock model.
I know.
Oh my god.
And she said, yeah, apples are cool. She said New Moon, she had no say. They just chose it. I think New Moon's cover is like a little weak, to be honest.
Agree.
It's like kind of forgettable. She said the Eclipse cover was her idea, and the Breaking Dawn cover was her idea.
Wow, that's so interesting.
I know.
I guess that I work in publishing, like textbook publishing.
Yeah.
And they always use stock photos.
Yeah.
For like all the covers.
I bet. I know. I'm like, I feel like they use stock pictures for everything.
Yeah.
Like even like I worked in a magazine, and like they used stock pictures for that too.
Or what about album covers?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Probably. I don't know. And like even in like marketing I've done, we used stock pictures pretending they were like very real things.
There's some movie that recently came out where people were criticizing how the movie poster, it was like a guy scuba diving, and there was like sharks, and they were like found the stock photo of the shark. And someone was like, you think the person's actually going to go underwater and take this picture?
They were
with,
criticizing
like, real
that?
sharks? Yeah.
What the heck?
Yeah.
Okay, so also in this interview, you know how Stephenie helped produce Breaking Dawn Part 2? Mm-hmm. Apparently, it was her idea to have that like twist ending in Breaking Dawn
really?
Part 2. Yeah, and she said, this is kind of funny.
I'm surprised by that.
I know, I was surprised by that too. And she said that she knew that they were breaking the rules with Alice's vision.
No way.
Yeah.
No way.
And she was like, we just had to do it.
No.
She said it.
When you heard that they wanted to do that twist at the end of Breaking Dawn Part 2,
oh, that was my idea.
That was your idea?
Yes,
okay.
I was having dinner with the writer.
Okay.
And Melissa and I were at the Keg in Vancouver. We're already filming one of the other films, and we're working on the script. And they wanted a fight, you know. And I'm like, how do we do this in a way that doesn't undercut the story? And so we're like, what if it's a vision? Now, it doesn't work with the rules because the wolves are involved. So we knew that we were breaking the rules, and we decided to just throw that out and go for it.
Yeah.
And then it was great. So like, who can we kill? How badly can we kill them? Because we can kill everyone.
Yeah.
Now. It was so exciting.
Crazy.
I know.
You would think that she would, I mean.
She was like, I guess she said, like, I could just put it in right here, but she said that they were like, how are we going to convey this? Like, we need it to be exciting, but we can't like underscore the actual book or like the actual meaning. Like, she didn't want to totally change it, but she also wanted it to be, you know, exciting.
Yeah.
And so they just
broke the rules.
They just broke the rules, which I wish, like, okay, fine, but I wish there was like some kind of made up explanation. Like,
well,
now that I've hung out with the wolves so much, now I can see them. Like, I don't know.
Well, yeah, I've heard that it was like she was working on her visions while she was away or something. Maybe. Like, how does one work on
I just
that?
wish that they said that.
Yeah. Or like maybe
make something up.
Like in my head, my explanation is once the like they were working together, then the treaty is over and she can see them or something.
Oh, yeah.
If they're on the same side.
I just wish it was like
Remember,
canon, as they say on Tumblr.
She couldn't see Renesmee either.
Yeah, you're right. Ugh. Frustrating. And like, why can she even see Bella?
Yeah.
Then the rules
Why
don't make
couldn't
sense.
she see Renesmee?
I don't know. Because it was uncertain or something? I don't know.
Oh, maybe.
Who knows? And then she also said, in the script, we actually killed everyone. Rosalie had a death, Emmett, they all did.
Wow.
I don't know if, like, Bella and Edward did, though. She didn't say. But she said Rosalie, Emmett,
but in the
Charlie.
In the movie, they killed Carlisle, Jasper, Leah, Seth.
Yeah. Arrow. She said she always saw Arrow dying.
But did they kill any other Cullens besides Jasper and Carlisle?
Did Esme die? No, you gotta rewatch it.
I don't think Esme did. But she watched, like, the Clearwaters die, and she was like, oh.
Yeah. And then she also said in that interview that since her last episode was about the New Moon soundtrack, that Hearing Damage was her favorite song.
From the New Moon one.
Which is interesting. Because I gave that like a B-, a C. No, but I think that's a good song. She loves Radiohead though, so I'm not surprised. Okay, another thing. A lot of people have wondered if she's going to write books about Jacob and Renesmee. Oh. Everyone always asks if she'll return to that universe, and she said, and that would be the story if I went there, if I went on with it. So I'm not going to tell you on the off chance that I do. Oh yeah, there's an outline. There's several chapters written. It was something that I was working on before Breaking Dawn came out.
Is that from Forever Dawn?
I think so. Yeah. Or maybe like after Forever Dawn.
Yeah.
Because you said that she signed on for a 3-book deal, right? Mm-hmm. Forever Dawn was the second book she wrote.
Yeah.
So maybe it was like the third thing she wrote and then just got scrapped. She says she has like bullet points and like I think she has an idea for Jacob and Renesmee, but I honestly don't know if she'll ever write it.
I don't need it.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean? I feel like Renesmee, she was a kid, but she was like the plot of Renesmee was bigger than the character of her, if that makes sense.
I don't really get who she is.
Yeah,
like, I don't know.
So it's like, I don't really, you would have to really develop her, which she probably could do for like a sequel, but it's like, I don't care about Jacob and Renesmee. Like, I don't care about his love story with this child. We only see her as a child. I don't get why people ship it so much.
Yeah. And then somebody, what was this from? This was on Hypeable.com. This was an interview. And someone said, if you were to write about another character in the Twilight world, who would it be? And she said, I think if I was really going to do it, it would be Renesmee and Leah. Those are the two most unresolved characters. If I was going to do it, if it wasn't for my enjoyment, the fans would want Alice, I think. That would be the one they definitely would want to have.
No.
Yeah, I don't think I need more Alice, actually.
I think Leah, I would like to see more Leah.
I want more Leah, too. And then also, same interview, do you have one piece of Twilight memorabilia that means a lot to you? And Stephenie said, I have the main floor stone from the Volturi Tower that White Godfrey, who's one of the producers, got that inscribed it for me, and I really liked that. And I guess she had a huge smile on her face when she said that.
I read something that her kids hate Twilight.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Or they're like embarrassed by it.
Same interview, they asked her, what are Edward and Bella like towards Renesmee's parents? She said, I think they'd be great parents, but I think they'd also be terribly difficult because actually it's kind of interesting because right now I'm in the middle of a life crisis with my oldest son leaving home. He turned 18, he's moved out, and it's been so devastating in a way that I did not foresee. So having a child that grows up so fast, you don't even have time to spend with them. I think that would be terrifying. And then they asked, would you say Edward and Bella as parents would be more like Charlie and Renee? And she said, oh no, they're way more helicopter parents than that. They are a lot more eyes on. I can see that.
Yeah. I don't know though.
I feel like Edward would be a helicopter. I don't know. I could see Bella like just being obsessed with Edward.
Yeah, I agree. Well, and then when they're in the
see both of them. I feel like they love each other more than they love Renesmee.
I agree. That's why I don't like Renesmee, because I feel like I don't like her for many reasons, but I feel like she complicates their love story. Because it's like, oh, there's this other person that they have to love too.
I could honestly see Bella and Edward being like, okay, we're gonna go off.
Well, that's what they do in Breaking Dawn.
To a trip and like see you later.
In Breaking Dawn Part 2,
Jacob will hang
she wakes up. What do they do? She goes and sees Renesmee.
Oh, yeah.
Then they go in the cabin, they have sex. Like, it's like, we don't see Renesmee that much.
As for some other things, Stephenie had a lot of things she says she's working on. I don't know if they'll ever actually happen. One of them's being Midnight Sun. She also still says she's writing a sequel to The Host. But that came out a long time ago. And, I don't know when that will ever happen.
That's a long time to have between a sequel.
Yeah. She said, it's partially written. This is where I'm dealing with the most frustrating writer's block, where I just know everything that happens. Maybe I need to do it on my recorder and just have someone else type it up. I don't know.
It's weird that she struggles with this writer's block so much and, like, she scraps things so easily because she wrote Twilight so quickly in a matter of 3 months, and it seems
the
like...
whole series, she was, like, busted out.
Yeah.
But then since then, it seems like it's been kind of hard
I
for
feel
her.
like I feel like it is the pressure of being successful and then knowing that people will read it.
It's weird to me, too, that, like, she just came out with Life and Death so quickly.
Yeah, that's true.
And then plus...
when no one asked for that.
So we haven't read Life and Death yet. I'm really sorry to listeners. We're going to. And I actually, now that I've read all this stuff about what she's up to right now, I want to read it because, like, I'm curious. But she said that she wanted people to see that as, like, a supplement or, like, bonus material to the 10-year anniversary. She didn't want people to think it was, like, a new book. But I think people still saw it that way. And she also was nervous that people would be disappointed that it wasn't Midnight Sun, which we were.
Yes.
And so that's why there was, like, absolutely no promotion of it. Like,
Oh,
I don't know if
really?
you realize this, but, like, it just came out. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Like, there was no hype. It just, like,
Exactly.
all of a sudden was in stores.
It's weird that
And that was intentional.
Little Brown wouldn't have wanted
Yeah.
to hype it. Like,
I know. She just wanted
probably would
to
have made more money off of
Beyonce
it.
it, as
Yeah.
they say. She just published it. I have to read it.
Yeah. I mean, should I say, like, the reason I haven't read it is because I love Twilight so much, and it just seems like it's just too hard to wrap my brain around
Yeah.
reading it in the reverse, like not having Edward, and I don't, like, it's like I love Twilight. Would I really, because I like the characters, like, would I just like this story
I don't know.
anyway?
So this is what she said about Life and Death. So to anyone listening who doesn't know, it's a new version of Twilight that gender swaps the entire book. So, like, now Edward is Edith, a girl, and Bella is Beau, a boy, and, like, everyone's different. Like, the Cullens are all swapped. And
But Charlie's not.
in 2015, she was interviewed by NPR, and they asked if the gender swapping was an answer to the criticism of Bella, and she said a little bit, there's a different power to being the quiet one, and so I've never really felt that Edward was as controlling as some people think, or Bella is as passive as people think. But in that one specific query, there was my ability to really answer it solidly, that there really is no difference when the human is the male. He's in the same predicament. He still can't lift cars over his head. On how Beau and Edith differ from Bella and Edward. She says, Beau is not as angry as Bella is. He's also a little bit more OCD. And then Edith is very similar to Edward. There are a few places where I wished in the original novel I had shown what he could do a little bit more. She tends to answer questions before people can answer them more than Edward did. But more than just, I should have done it that way the first time. Oh, no. But that was more just, I should have done it that way the first time. And she said it's elsewhere in another interview that a lot of Life and Death was her, like, kind of changing or fixing what she did in Twilight the first time. And I guess the ending is different. Neither of us have read it. And so, like, you guys who have read it, you're probably, like, laughing at us. But, like, I don't know what the end is, so I'm curious.
Yeah, we're going to read it eventually. I just can't picture the story without Edward. Like,
I know.
Just hearing
Like,
Edith, I'm like,
I love Edward.
so, yeah.
I know. I guess we just have to see. Like, would we like Beau? Like,
I don't know. Would I like Edith?
I don't know.
I just can't even picture what the female counterpart to Edward is.
I just have a few, like, random things about Stephenie's personality these days. This is from a 2016 interview, which there aren't many super, super recent interviews from her, but, like, this one, I guess, is one of the most recent ones. They asked what her favorite this is with Entertainment Weekly, they asked what her favorite guilty pleasure TV show was, and she said, I don't believe in guilty pleasures. If something brings you pleasure, embrace it. Which kind of reminds me of Twilight. Yeah. The song, people might be surprised I know all the words to. She said every original song in the movie Sing Street. I love that movie, and I think that's cool that she knows those songs. They said the book I'd use to squash a bug. I don't know if this is what they were hoping she would say, but she said Breaking Dawn. It's heavy, thick enough to give me some strategic distance from a bug, and I have lots of copies on hand. Okay.
So they were hoping she would diss a book. Yeah.
And she said her own book.
That's smart.
The last show she binged, this was in 2016, she said Stranger Things, so amazing, so long to wait until the next season. So I guess she's into Stranger Things. And then once again, she brings up her, classic literary. She always talks about this.
That's why it makes me think she's not a big reader, because she always brings up the same books.
I know. This one, she brings up a few, I don't know. They said who would be her guests at a dinner party, and she answered, there's serious versions of this dinner party where I would invite Charlotte Bronte, classic, Jane Austen,
Classic.
Louisa May Alcott, L.M. Montgomery, and Shakespeare. But that sounds so intimidating and not really enjoyable. So honestly, I'd have to go with people who make me laugh. Mindy Kaling, Leslie Jones, Kate McKinnon, Tina Fey, Amy Poehler, Nick Offerman, Bill Murray, Bill Hader, Aziz Ansari, Mitch Hedberg. There are so many. How big is the table? How big is the table I'm working with here? And do I have to talk or can I just listen?
Sounds like she's a big SNL fan.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. She's just like you and me. She does actually sound like really regular. Oh. This is just more about life and death. And this is an interview with MTV. They said, one line of dialogue that's significantly different is that iconic scene where Bella lists all the things she knows about Edward, and she says, I was unconditionally and irrevocably in love with him. That's drastically different from Beau's perspective. Why did you make that change? I don't know what he says, but because we haven't read it. But she says, it's funny. That specific quote, my editor was so sad because she didn't want me to change it. But because it was used so much, it's on the back of the book. I was very tired of it. It was too heavy. It was too overwrought. It was too painful. Painful? That seems dramatic.
Yeah.
So I got to just relax and sound like what a boy would say. That's a little stereotypical, but I have 3 teenage sons, so I have some experience there. To me, it feels a lot more organic than the other quote. My editor wouldn't agree. And she said, it's kind of a funny thing because I've seen a little bit of what fans are saying online. There's that attitude of, this isn't a new book, and this is such a lame thing to do. It's kind of funny she acknowledges that. But when I wrote this, my publisher did want to do it as a separate book, but it's not a new book. It's very much bonus material, just a new way of looking at things. It belongs in the same volume. So this, to me, is not revisiting. It was just something fun to add to the 10th anniversary edition. So if I was ever going to go back and really go back, this is what I said earlier, it would be a Renesmee story.
So that's interesting that kind of explains why it was printed with Twilight together, which
because I was saying I want to buy it. I need to buy it. I don't even own it. I'm such a fake fan. Actually today I went to a bookstore to find it, but they didn't have it.
I was telling you that I don't think that you could probably find it that easily anymore.
I bet it's at Barnes and Noble.
Maybe, probably Barnes
but this
and
was
Noble.
a very small independent bookstore. It's really small. They only have 4 aisles.
Did they have
or
any
something.
Twilights?
They had no Twilights there.
That's crazy.
I was so annoyed. They think they're too good.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I can tell they do. But yeah, so I want to buy it, but it kind of annoys me that it has Twilight in it because I already own Twilight. And I also have the French version. It's okay, now I'm going to have 3 Twilight.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
And also, anyone who would buy Life and Death, I guarantee you, they own a
Already
copy
read
of
it.
Twilight.
Yeah, it's just way too fat, too.
Yeah, it's huge, that book. It'd be so hard to bring just, on the train with you.
Yeah.
It's like a dictionary, that book.
I know. I wish I could just get half of it, the Life and Death part.
Yeah.
And I'm really curious about what the end is now. I had no idea it was different.
Yeah.
So.
We're gonna read it, guys.
We're gonna read it. So that's basically everything. She is a pretty private person.
Yeah.
There isn't a lot to find about what she's up to these days, but she's still writing, I guess. She just came out with The Chemist. We haven't read it. But it's very different from Twilight. It's more real life, action-y story.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's more adult. Yeah.
I would read it.
Yeah. Maybe we should. What do we think of it?
Have you guys read it? Let us know. I think that's pretty much it, right?
I guess so.
Yeah. Thank you guys for listening to this episode.
Yeah, I hope you guys learned something about the creator of Twilight.
I definitely did. There were some things I didn't know that she said that she would just break the rules for the movie.
I know. I was shocked by that.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that. I
mean,
hope that we can interview her someday.
Yeah. I bet someone she knows will look for a Twilight podcast
I hope.
and tell her. And that reminds me, as we said a couple episodes ago, if you guys have any free time, let us know how you found us.
Oh, yeah.
because
We're so curious.
We have no idea.
It's like a mystery.
We're just kind of doing this and...
I mean, like, we do Instagram and stuff.
Yeah, but we're very surprised and flattered to know that anybody is listening to us.
Oh, I have a story, actually, about Stephenie Meyer.
Oh.
I don't even know if this is true, but when I was, like, in high school, my sister's friend and my friend, honestly, Carrie.
Yes.
And their friend Chloe. So my friends Carrie and Chloe, they're 2 years younger than me. They were like super into looking up people's phone numbers and calling them. And they said that they found Stephenie Meyer's phone number.
I believe it.
I don't know if I believe it either, but they swear by it. That, like, it was on White Pages or something. Like, I don't know. And they said that they called her house. And that, I mean, this was like in 2008 or something.
Did she answer?
So, like, it's possible. And they said that she answered. And
What?
Yeah. And that she was like, that Carrie or Chloe, I'm not sure who said it, was like, is this Stephenie? And then she was like, who is this? And they're like, Stephenie Meyer? Like, is it? And like, they asked to talk to her, and then she hung up.
Oh my god.
I know.
That's crazy.
I hope it's real.
Yeah, that sounds really cool.
I don't know. I almost feel like I think back then you could kind of get away with stuff like that. Like, on the internet, people would just post stuff like that. But, like, nowadays,
No.
it's, like, a little harder. You can be, like, more secretive.
People would
I
always
think.
have their, on their Facebook page, they would always have their phone number.
Yeah.
Like, new number.
Yeah, who knows? I don't know if that actually happened, but has anyone met her before? Or do you know her?
Yeah.
Tell her about us. I want to interview her.
Yeah. I mean, she is...
I would want to... A lot of interviews, they kept asking the same questions.
Yeah.
So, like, I'd want to think of some different
Yeah.
ones. They always ask about, like, is Bella a good role model? Or how has being a Mormon influenced
Would you rather
Yeah.
interview Stephenie Meyer or Robert Pattinson?
I feel like Robert Pattinson... Well, I mean... It'd be scarier to interview Robert Pattinson, I
Yeah.
think. Like, I would be very nervous.
Yeah, because I'm like...
I feel like with Stephenie, like, we could probably, like, laugh and
yeah,
stuff.
we love Twilight.
Yeah.
But with him, we'd have to be like, we've seen your other movies too.
But I also
we
wouldn't want to
haven't.
seem that lame. Like, I'd want
Yeah.
him to take me seriously.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want him
That'd
to...
be hard.
Yeah,
Ugh. You know what? I don't even stand a chance, like, ever talking to him.
me neither.
If I ever saw him, I would pretend I didn't. Or I would just not say anything.
Yeah, me neither. Speaking of Twilight news, there's rumors that he might play Batman.
I wonder if we'll look back on saying this and be like, we were so wrong.
We were so wrong. Or if, because we're recording this a little bit early, if it's confirmed or denied.
Maybe.
By the time that this goes
If
live.
he plays Batman, I will see the heck out of that movie.
Yeah, me too.
I will buy it on DVD.
I will be kind of stressed though.
Yeah,
because
because then it will be like, oh,
are like-
everyone
because-
loves him now.
And I know that in the same token, people will insult Twilight.
Yes.
in the process.
And insult him.
People-
Shit on him.
People would be
Yeah.
like, well, surprisingly, Edward Cullen is a great Batman. And they'd be like,
Yeah, you're so right.
he's leaving Twilight behind.
Yeah,
and
like, oh, he always hated Twilight. That
Yeah.
would come up again.
Yeah, and it's like...
There's
Because
a lot of
as,
baggage.
Yeah, and as we've said, these superhero movies, are they really any different from Twilight? So it's like annoying. They're like the
Yeah, it's like-
socially acceptable form of Twilight.
Yeah.
So it's annoying that like then he's considered a serious actor, which I already think he is a serious. I think he's
Yeah.
an amazing actor, but like he's a serious actor because he's in a superhero movie.
I know.
But because he's in Twilight, it's like a joke because that's catered towards women. It's
I know.
so fucked up.
Despite it all, I kind of do hope it happens, though.
Yeah, me too. I think he deserves the recognition.
Yeah. It is like it is frustrating though. I mean, I almost felt that way. Like Adam Driver, like I loved him on Girls, and then he
Yeah.
was in Star Wars, and people were like,
yeah.
"Oh, he was on Lena Dunham's show," and like
Yeah.
I don't know, a lot of people just heard of him then and acted like this was his like step up and stuff.
Yeah. I hate people who do that. It's like,
Yeah.
like, why do you have to feel like, I feel like so much of it is tied to like insecure masculinity, where it's like all these guys are gonna love Robert Pattinson for playing Batman, but it's like they can't admire anyone who was in a Twilight movie.
Yeah.
Because that might make them like less
Rami
masculine.
Malek was in a Twilight movie.
Yeah.
Nominated for Best Actor.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anna Kendrick was in a Twilight movie. This might be a long episode. Let's guess how long it's gonna be.
2 hours.
Yes, yeah. All right. Thanks, guys, for listening.
See you next time.
Bye.
You can contact us at anotherbiteoftwilight@gmail.com or find us on Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram at Another Bite of Twilight. The music is by Traces. See you next time.